6 million years ago, long before Lucy, and long before the world had any idea what a human was, a small primate walked through the woodlands of what is now Kenya. And depending on who you ask, it may be the first creature to truly walk on two legs. This is Orrorin tugenensis, one of the oldest, most controversial hominins ever discovered. And it might just rewrite the beginning of our evolutionary story. Let's dig into it. Orrorin tugenensis was discovered in the year 2000, right as the world was stepping into the new millennium, and that's where it's got its nickname, the Millennium Man. French researcher Martin Pickford and Brigitte Senut uncovered a handful of fossils in the Tugen Hills of Kenya. Not a full skeleton, far from it, but enough to shake up paleoanthropology. Some of the fossil fragments they found included pieces of femur, arm bones, jaw fragments, and teeth. Not much, right? But sometimes a single bone can change everything. The femur of Orrorin is the real star here. That bone tells us a lot about how an animal walks. The femur showed a thickened cortical bone along the bottom neck, a feature linked to bipedal walking in humans. A rounded human-like femoral head, suggesting hip mechanics closer to upright walking, but also curved finger bones, good for climbing. So was Orrorin walking upright? Probably, but it definitely still climbed a lot. The Tugen Hills 6 million years ago were a patchwork of trees, shrubs, and open spaces. This supports the idea that early bipedalism didn't evolve on open grasslands, but in mixed, forested environments. This also links Orrorin with later patterns seen in Ardipithecus and possibly Sahelanthropus. Bipedalism was less about running across Africa and more about being flexible in a changing environment. Some scientists argue that Orrorin may be the earliest direct human ancestor. Why? Because of its femur. Brigitte Senut and Martin Pickford, who discovered the fossils, claim that Orrorin's thigh bone is more human-like than even Lucy's, the famous Australopithecus afarensis. The femoral neck and spherical head and the thick cortical bone all suggest upright walking. If that's true, then Orrorin, not Lucy, could represent the true root of our lineage. But not everyone agrees. Many researchers believe that Orrorin was a close root, but not necessarily a direct ancestor. Instead, it may have been one of the several side branches experimenting with bipedalism in the late Miocene. In this view, Orrorin walked upright, but its lineage may have gone extinct, leaving no direct descendants. Evolution, after all, isn't a straight line. It's a branching tree. Other possibilities that Orrorin wasn't a hominin at all, but a cousin of the chimp-human common ancestor. It may have lived near the divergence point, showing a mosaic of climbing and upright traits, but never giving rise to humans. In this scenario, Orrorin represents a fascinating experiment in locomotion, but not part of our direct story. In truth, we just don't know yet. The fossil material is limited. There's no skull, no fully complete limbs. Just enough to spark a debate. Orrorin remains a mystery. Is it an ancestor? A side branch? A cousin of a common ancestor? What it does show is that human evolution wasn't a straight path, but a tangled tree of possibilities. Since you and I just covered Sahelanthropus, let's compare it directly with Orrorin. Sahelanthropus lived between 7 and 6 million years ago in Chad. What we have there are skulls, most famously the cranium nicknamed Tumai. The forward position of its foramen magnum is just bipedalism. But without leg bones, the case remains debated. Was it walking upright, or was it still moving like an ape? The evidence is tantalizing, but it's incomplete. Orrorin, on the other hand, lived slightly later, around 6.1 to 5.7 million years ago, in Kenya. Uh, there we don't have skulls, but we do have femurs. And those femurs tell a stronger story. The thick cortical bone beneath the femoral neck and the spherical head point towards habitual bipedalism. In other words, Orrorin gives us the legs, but not the face. It's almost like nature's cruel joke. One has a skull, and the other has legs. Yet when we put them together, Sahelanthropus and Orrorin give us a more complete picture of early hominin evolution. One shows us the head, and the other shows us the body. And together, they remind us that the path to humanity was pieced together from fragments, each fossil adding a clue, but never the whole story. Does Orrorin beat out Sahelanthropus for earliest human ancestor? Maybe, maybe not. But what's certain is it lived during one of the most mysterious periods of our entire evolutionary history, the moment when our lineage was just beginning to take shape. Up next, we'll be covering Ardipithecus cadabra. And remember, if you want more deep dives into our ancient relatives, hit subscribe, like the video, and stick around for the next episode of Fossil Matrix.